Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November 1st meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could we have the roll, please?
Sure. Steve Hinnick.
Here.
Mitzi Versillian. Here. Tracy Miller. Jennifer Peterson. Here. John Reardon. Bobby Stauffer. Here. John Weitzel.
Here. Very well. We have a quorum. Well, I was hoping that everyone had a chance to read through the minutes of last month's meeting. Are there any comments or changes we might want to make? Any additions? Well, hearing none, I would move that we accept the minutes and approve them for the October 4th, 2022 meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. All those do I hear a second? John Weitzel is seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Very well, ayes have it. Come in, Lucy. Let's see. So, do we have any public comment tonight on anything on the agenda from the public? It would be anybody wanting to comment on our agenda items. Hearing none, we'll move into our staff and member report. Kate, would you care to illuminate us?
Yeah, so first we'll do do an update on the Basin Creek Caretaker's House. It is, as I always say, it's going really well. If anybody wants to go out and visit, I'm sure John would appreciate it. He's always out there by himself, working in that isolated place. So he has, as you can see in this photo, he's got the back porch on, which is looking great. So we just, he'll just paint it and he'll put those, the lattice in and around the bottom like in the front. So here's some more photos of the back. So there's a before photo and then after, obviously. So he's finished that. He's poured most of the concrete work is all done. He had to reinforce the porch a little bit. He built the walkway. He built it a little differently from the way that the original sidewalk was, but it makes more sense the way that he did it and the way that it is now. So that's all mostly done. Walkway, porch, supports are all finished, and he just needs to do some finishing touches on that, some caulking. And last to do is, painting a last coat on the deck of the front porch. Painting the rear deck, concrete for the basement door. So we're going to put a fire door for the basement. So that's up to code. Rebuilding the basement door trim and everything so that the door will fit the specific door that we're going to get for it. And then, of course, inserting all doors and windows when they arrive. So they should be, and rebuilding the windows that can be preserved and restored. So early November was the date that Triple S gave for the windows to be in. So, he's really intending on being finished with it by the time that the hard winter hits. So he's just got some touches to finish, and then we'll seal it up and again get the rodents removed and cleaned. So.
Super. Any comments on that from the commission? I think it's moving along well. There's a lot of detail work, it sounded like, to be done still.
Yeah.
And once the windows get in, you can button it up, get the door in, and that sort of thing. Great.
Yeah.
Very well. Okay. I apologize for jumping ahead. Let's have do you have any other items that you'd like to report on tonight, Kate?
There's a few things, yeah. So yesterday I turned in the semi-annual progress report, but I turned it in without your signatures. It's fine. I spoke with Kate Hampton about it. She said I would just send in the wet copy when I send in the hard copy. So if I could get everyone's signature that I haven't already, that would be awesome. Thank you. If they're all right, I guess. So I wanted to let you know, because I'm sure you all know about this iron fence that's been in the basement, that's been allocated for the Jacobs house. That has been moved to the Mountain Con building. So, John Sullivan let me know that and it wasn't an easy feat. I mean, that thing is very heavy, and that there's been other interest in it. So we should start thinking about having it put in before. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think John will let it disappear per se, but he did warn me that there's been other eyeballs on it. Something about like the Lexington Gardens or something. So I would like to find out exactly what you know about it, as far as, how it's been promised to the Jacobs House, if there's some kind of, if CPR had put some money down on the project or something. That would definitely be good for me to know, just in case, but it's not going anywhere for right now.
Mitzi, did you have a comment about that item?
Oh, sorry, can't figure out how to run it. I'm a little concerned about the safety of the mountain con, and maybe things have been done better, but quite a few years ago, somebody went in and tore every piece of copper that was out of there when they thought it was secure. And so I think that CPR would be interested to know if the security is in fact secure. And I agree that it's really heavy, and you'd really have to have a mind to do it. But the donation was specifically to the Jacobs House and project. And if it were to go to the Lexington Garden, CPR would have to decide. They would have to the board would have to meet about it and see whether or not that was appropriate.
Okay.
And I would just say this: I personally think it would look great at the better than a chain link fence.
Definitely.
And the Lexington Gardens really has been neglected over the past few years, and a new fence is going to be lipstick on a pig unless there's another commitment to do other improvements to that. So those are the kind of comments I would make to Butte CPR when it was discussed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Kate, anything else?
Well, I just wanted to let you all know that the Historic Gathering Places tour that we have put together with the B'nai Israel Cultural Center and the other buildings around it is going to be on November 19th, starting at 10 a.m. So you can get tickets for that at the Butte Archives or at each respective building that's involved. And I gave you all a flyer in your packets. So there's that. And I did attend my first Motherlode Butte Performing Arts Center board meeting. And so there will be an open house there on November 3rd. And I actually gave you guys all tickets for that as well. So flyers that are for your entrance if you'd like to go. I told you all about the presentation for the restroom renovation for the courthouse here. They did come to the meeting on October 12th. SMA Architects, they gave their presentation. It went well. I think that the Council of Commissioners was really receptive to the ideas, and what's next is that we give them our formal recommendations and then figure out how we're going to fund phase 1 of the project, which is the downstairs public restrooms here in this building. And finally, the DNRC grant for the mine yards. I had Preserve Montana's restoration director, Mary Webb. I had her come down to Butte, and we took her into the Anselmo and showed her the carpenter shop. And so I was kind of hoping that there were remnants of windows behind the boarded up, openings, but it turns out that there are not. And I don't think there's a stockpile of windows anywhere either, so it looks like they're all going to have to be rebuilt to specifications. So we're sort of in the process of looking for photos, anything that we can find. She's really good. I mean, she could tell, that they were double hungs just based on the marks and in the sills. I mean, she knows what she's doing. We'd just like to get some photos and maybe get a bid from her. And then we were also talking about, we were going to ask Charlie
Whereabouts in the mine yard is this, the
Danny's.
carpenter's house?
The
House,
carpenter's
shop.
shop. So it's,
He
I
might have
guess,
lived there.
it depends on which way do you go into the Anselmo?
Okay, you'd be going in from the north, there's the head frame.
Yeah.
And then there's a series of small buildings off to the east.
Yes.
Is that where it
To
is?
the west.
To the west, though.
It's
Okay.
a larger building.
We've looked at this building before with windows and stuff.
It's actually quite amazing on the inside. It's filled with timber, with mortise and tenons, still sitting there.
I think it was done some cleanup, maybe in an earlier version. It's the one that's just south of the dry. But
Yes.
there was no, it was just to make it more palatable.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't know how safe it is, the floor. So they basically have a little barrier so you can't walk all the way in, but yeah, so it's gonna take some work, it's gonna take some actual rebuilding of the windows, but, that is part of the grant, and so we're moving forward with it, so. That's it. Oh, do you have something?
Yeah, I think, Robert Renoir has been doing some great things with window restoration in our community. And I think Mary would do really great work. But if it went out for bid for the window work separate, Robert Renoir's shop, he's done work for the Butte Historic Trust building on Jackson. He's doing the windows for the Silver Dollar.
Silver, yeah.
And so I think he would be worth seeing if he was
Yeah.
interested in that job.
We have to put together, a package of some sort, definitely, and then we get it out there, absolutely. Just having Mary come down just to look at them was just kind of step one, but it will, yeah, we would love to see he sounds busy, but we would love to see what he has to say as well. That's it for my updates.
Well, thank you. We'll move on to our actionable items tonight. We have a demo review on COA at 131 to 133 East Aluminum Street. I hope everybody had a chance to go over there. I did. It's striking, that's for sure. So would you give us a brief overview and maybe your recommendations, Kate?
Yeah, so when we worked on the COA, Lisa and I, it was 2 months ago now. I'm not sure what has happened since. We were going to have her come in last month, and then after some HPC members' visits, she asked to put it off. So I don't know if anything's changed from that. But it says it's a duplex. Is it a duplex? Maybe it originally was a duplex, because it says that in the inventory. It was built in 1914. Yeah, I don't know how it could be a duplex, but one-story rectangular with a flat roof and a concrete foundation, a frame construction with brick veneer on the exterior, well, at least on a couple sides of the exterior. The windows are pretty fantastic, 8/1. Many of them are original to the building. And I did go and see it, and it was a very hot day. I had a little trouble with recommendations on this one, because it's very hard to see how the state of the actual building systems with this house. Here it is. Here's the footprint. You can kind of see they left the yard in a state as well. But it was left with a lot of junk, floor to ceiling, essentially, if everyone got a chance to look at the photos. Here's another one of the front. Certainly it's a charming little building. And this is some asphalt siding that's meant to look like brick that they have on the, would that be the east side? Yeah, sorry. So yeah, they're sort of, cladded in anything that they could on that east side. I was just trying to look at the building systems themselves, and it's easier to see from the outside than from the inside when it's covered top to bottom with junk. It's hard to see the walls. It's hard to see, the state of the of everything, basically. So here's some photos that came from the folks. I didn't take these. These came in the report from the folks that were thinking about, or I guess put in a bid for the cleanup. You know, and these are just some photos of where you can see that it is really not in very good shape. So aside from that, you know, I mean, I believe that there's salvageable things to it, for it, you know, those windows, that brick, some of that brick is in really great shape. There's, you know, there's cool columns on the front porch. And this is what I spoke about with Lisa when she brought me initially, that, you know, there's still salvageable stuff from the house itself, but I had a real tough time with sort of doing this or this on the actual house itself. And I know that a few of you went there, and some of you might have gone inside. So I was kind of hoping that we could hear from you, and Lisa and Trent are here from the town pump, and you're welcome to come up and talk as well, you know, about the project. So it seemed like it was not in very good shape, and my first thought was, let's do the 45-day, you know, stay on it. But that was also when I thought that you might be in the August meeting. They might be, you know, so yeah, I'd be curious. Is there anything that you would like to say?
No. Thank you. Here, please come on up and state your name, and I think you've been here before.
Commission Chair, members of the Commission, Trent Biggers with Big Sky Property Management, Town Pump. Unfortunately, I have been here before to visit with you folks. Here to answer any questions you might have. We bought this property, I believe, November of last year. We gave the owner till free rent to stay until March of this year. So he had an opportunity to find another place to live and get rehomed. He had some challenges with some sickness and that, so it wasn't until we first reached out to Kate for assistance that we had access to the property to really look at it. We have not done anything with it, awaiting kind of the Commission's advice and direction.
Thank you. Does anyone on the commission have any questions for Mr. Biggers? John Weitzel?
I guess that one doesn't work. Yeah, I go by that house every day, and I'm very well aware of it, and the people that live there, and it was always pretty stuff. My question is, you know, because we know about the bad plumbing and over the years and the rot. Has anybody from the health department ever go in there and look, and, you know, like with the, because there's mice in there, feces and everything. Has there been a health
So
direction on that?
I'll take a step back maybe to help answer part of that question for the Commission and those that maybe didn't have the opportunity to go there. When we gained possession of the property and we gained entrance, first time we had ever been in there, first time that the tenant had vacated to allow us access, I was pretty concerned with the condition of some of the plumbing in that. So I reached out and I talked to him again, and unfortunately, high level, I found lots of jugs of laundry detergent that were not laundry detergent. And I found what appeared to be piles of feces and toilet paper and stuff like that. So I reached out to the previous owner and said, hey, I need to know what we're stepping into and what is in there, and here's what I think I'm finding. And I said, I'm not finding any evidence of water. He said that in the winter of 2020, that there was a water leak that had happened in the building, and he had the city come and shut the curb stop off. So the house had been without water for well over a year, and that he had been segregating sections of the house off as restroom facilities and using the jugs to urinate in. So once we learned that, my team and I just kind of stepped back and realized that this is a fairly dangerous situation. Now, when we did walk in there, I didn't physically see evidence of rodents, but I could hear scratching in the piles of garbage in the kitchen area. The refrigerator was fully left stocked, but he had shut the power off prior to his vacating. I don't have physical proof that I've seen rodents in there, but I think I've heard them, or I've heard something. And so we stepped out, we got a hold of Fine Fabric Care locally here in Butte to help get us an understanding of cleanup. We were unable to find any companies in the Butte area, local companies, I guess I would say, that could help us out, or that were willing to come look at it, with the exception of Day Spring. And I don't necessarily consider them a local business, but I think their estimate was high, but it's all I could get at the time.
Just really quick, was there anything like mice feces in there?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's feces in there that, but the
Yes,
mice.
there's
Because you do like the
visual evidence of human and
coronavirus and
rodent
stuff, that
feces.
goes with that.
I'm sorry, one more time.
The virus, the mice feces,
Yes,
Hands of virus.
okay.
I don't, they appear to me to be mice or rat feces, but I didn't get quite
Yeah.
close enough to gauge closely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the place, you know, like you say, Kate, it has kind of a charming facade, and unfortunately, it has turned into a horror story. I mean, we're so close to Halloween, that story kind of gave me the frights. Although tomorrow is El Dia de Muerta, the Day of the Dead. I like the idea of approving a request for demo contingent upon the ability for salvage of these windows and columns or any other woodwork and the brick veneer if need be. But I also think that to get any public involvement like that, that place has to be cleaned out. And I mean, I assume that's would be the plan if indeed that would be done, and has nothing to do with this commission. That is strictly between the building department, et cetera, and yourself. But I think the idea of salvage is great. I don't see any redeeming features to this place myself, so that's my stand on it. Mitzi, do you have a comment?
Sure. This is a disgusting end to a decent building at one time. And Town Pump's request for a demolition is reasonable, and I would definitely vote for it. I will say, there was so much stuff, even in the yard, that something should have been done about this before Town Pump was even involved. And that is a crime. It is a crime against our community to not carefully look and see. And when somebody turns the water off the curb and doesn't check to see that somebody is living in there, then there's something wrong with our community that they can't foresee what that actually means. I think some of the salvage could be done on the exterior, especially the windows. The brickwork, I tell you, it would be easier to salvage the brick off of the garage, which is already falling down. It's got, well, I can't, there's one, I don't know if you have a view of it, but one view there's a big kind of hole or something like that. When you salvage brick, you really have to have a place where you can start. And so unless Town Pump would agree to have an excavator there and to knock it down and let us have a day or two to salvage the brick, which I would hope they would, because others have done it, but I don't necessarily expect them. That's the only way that a real meaningful salvage of the brick can be done, because you can't, you've got to have a way to, you've got to have a place to start. So that's why I think if the offer for brick salvage was extended to the garage as well, I think that a fair amount of brick could be salvaged from that particular structure. And I just don't know about the house, because there's not a place to start. So I definitely would vote for an approval of the demolition, but I would hope that the community would take some responsibility for someone who had mistreated the building for whatever reason, because this will continue on and on unless we take our responsibility for not the building, for his life and other people's lives like that are forced to live in squalor for whatever reason. That's all.
Well, thank you. Anyone else on the commission want to chime in on this? John Weitzel?
Just really quick, yes, and I want to thank Mitzi for bringing this up, and we've talked about this before, is demolition by neglect. The other problem we have here in the city and with this is that you got private property, and people says, government can't tell me what to do with my property, but when the property becomes so dilapidated and scorned with hazardous material, your rights end there, because you're going onto the rights of other people. I don't know how we could actually address this. I don't know how to be careful with my words here, but some people should not be allowed to own property because they are incompetent and they don't have the knowledge in that to own it. We've seen this before up on Woman Street by the original mine yard. The gentleman from Melrose neglected to take care of that building for 20 years, and he let the roof, it was just a horrible situation. So I don't know how the local government can, but probably with negotiations or whatever, but some people are just totally incompetent to own buildings. And that should also be in there before they buy these buildings, especially from the city, or historic building in Uptown Butte. People buy them, they sit on them for 30, 40 years thinking they're going to cut the fat hog in the butt, with the big profit, and then nothing ever happens. And they don't put a nickel's worth into it. And so I think we have to have some type of a deal about competence of the property owner. I don't know where that can go, but no reflection on you guys at all, but it's just one of these situations that we have to deal with all the time, is this demolition by neglect. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair, if I may
Yes.
address Vice Chairwoman's comments and concerns. I fully agree. My hope and vision is that as much as we can salvage, whether it's the windows, the woodwork, the brick, I want to help make that happen. I think that there's some stuff in the yard that may be of significance. I believe there's a headstone that's there. It belongs to someone and needs to go to a proper place. I'm not sure what opportunity the commission had to visit the garage area or the workshop that was kind of in the back. There's probably some timber work there that could be utilized somewhere. So I support everything you're saying and would do what we can to help preserve what we can and get it to the proper home.
Thank you, Mr. Biggers. Anyone else? Yes, Bobby Stauffer.
I just had a question. Who did you purchase this from?
The previous owner, gentleman's name is Mr. Dan McFadden.
A local person?
Yes, he's lived there probably since...
Oh, so he was the person who lived there? I thought it was a renter.
No.
That you...
No, so what had happened was Mr. McFadden lived in the residence for, my conversations with him maybe since the late 60s or 70s.
Oh, okay.
Lived there, resided there, and then we bought it from him in November 21. But part of our discussions with him is he needed a place to live. And so we gave him contractually through March of this year to live there and give him time to find a place to go.
Okay. I
and
thought you
once-
had a landlord that you were. But
No, he was
I-
the owner.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed.
Nope,
I should have
no
read
worries. I
more
probably didn't explain that
closely.
well.
Yeah, I also, I thank you for your willingness to allow as much reclamation as possible. Or, I agree that this has to get torn down, sadly.
All
Yeah,
right.
One area of concern, and I'm sure it's not something that you're not aware of. There's a grade school bus stop right there, and so I have some motivation to move as quickly as possible, just to keep the kids out of that area. But yeah, right there where that telephone pole is where the bus stop picks up and drops off the kiddos. So,
I would move, well, does anybody else have any comments? I thought I'd make a motion to approve the request for demolition contingent upon the ability for an extended period of salvage and historic windows, columns, any other woodwork, brick veneer, including the garage and the outbuildings. Also contingent upon the ability to review any new things that are going to go there of any consequence. And that would be it. Do I hear a second? Oh,
Can I
God.
insert an amendment? And the amendment is simply the extended period. We only have the ability by our ordinance to, I can't remember if it's 30 days or 45 days or something like that. So that is 45, so that is the maximum that would be allowed. If there's,
Oh, prior to demolition?
yes, prior to
Oh,
demolition.
well,
So I think
you.
we should be more specific that it's just the 45 days because extended period,
Oh,
you may think that means 4, 5, 6 months. I don't, so anyway, that's the
No.
only amendment I would say.
Oh,
is
okay.
To
So
replace
moved.
45 days, yeah.
45-day period to get some salvage out of there before. But if the owner decides they're going to move on this faster, they could certainly get in touch with the CPR as well. Is that correct? Why not?
They could contact them
Right.
immediately according to the ordinance,
Sure.
but they would have, whoever might do the salvage has 45
Oh.
days in which
Oh.
they can do it by ordinance.
Okay. So amended. Kate, did you get all that? It's the same
I
thing,
hope
only
we're
we're going to give
recording
them
this time.
We'll say the extended, in lieu of extended, we make it a 45-day period. Okay. How's that sound? Okay?
yes, sir.
Okay, great. Yes, would you like to
I
second
will
that?
second that
All right.
amended motion.
Great. Any other discussion on this question? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Good luck with the project. Thank you for coming. Great. Yeah. There's headstones, yeah.
It's not facing the right way. It should be east-west, right? It's like north-south.
Well, in fact, I thought that's what we were going to review last month. That's why, when I came in, I made that mistake, 'cause I thought that was on the agenda. It really is, something. Okay, we have a little squeaker coming in here. And it's the film company wants to do some work to the jail.
You want to do
And
this before announcements?
Kate, would you
Sorry.
like to, what's that?
We'll do this before announcements?
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Okay.
So we're going to add this to the agenda as a adjunct meeting note.
Okay, well, so Brian is here from King Street Productions, and this is this is a latecomer. I just got the email today. So I don't have a COA prepared for this project on the old police department, but we have a diagram and some information about what they would like to do. and they don't have a specific time for that, but it could be sooner rather than later, so we decided that we'd probably like to put this before you guys now, so, here's Brian.
Hi again. Thanks for seeing me on the last minute. Kind of happens with move business. We're making last minute decisions here and there. But we've decided to pursue using the sheriff's office on Alaska as an exterior filming location. And we'd like to do some touch-up work to kind of bring the building back to a 1920s look. Looking here at this diagram, the photo here on the right-hand side, a couple things we touch up. We are shooting this as if it's Bozeman, so we would replace the letters above the door to represent Bozeman. Another thing we'd want to do, specifically with this picture, and our proposal is to do it on the day to minimize our impact to the police department, is to replace the door on the day. We will return the original hardware once we're done filming on the day. That's something that will happen all within the same exact day. If you want to go to the next. So here is a little more in detail. I'll start in the bottom left-hand side. That's just a kind of a diagram of what the door is going to look like that we are planning to install on the day. If you go up above, you've got a diagram that's labeled A, B, C, D, and that is in relation to the basement windows that are facing Alaska Street. And then there's one on the southwest corner towards the parking lot that we would cover up. And basically, what we're doing here is we're just doing plugs with plexiglass in between to kind of make it look like they're actual windows letting light in and just hiding the wood that is currently in that space. The other, you can also see in window E, we will put jail bars in front of that plexiglass as well to kind of give it this representation of a police station and a jail at the same time. Right now, we're thinking that this scene will be filmed on the 14th of November, which is 2 Mondays from now. So I've proposed that we probably start the work around November 8th. I think it'll take us 2 to 3 days to do it, and then about a day to restore everything. By that I mean removing the plugs from the basement windows. And as I mentioned, the door will be removed and reinstalled on the same day.
Any questions for Mike? Is it Mike?
Brian.
Brian. Okay, Brian.
okay.
Brian. Well, for me, you're going to, this new door has a light in it, isn't that correct?
This new door has
A light. It's glass.
It's
isn't it?
glass.
Yes.
Yes.
It's sort of similar to the water company door.
Yes, sir.
It is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
And this would be like a veneer,
That is
wood
correct.
veneer?
Yep.
Yeah, sure. And are you going to use the same butts? I mean, the same, obviously, you're going to have the same hinge
It's the same
pattern.
hinges.
Same
The-
thing.
The whole
Yeah,
idea
same
is to
butts.
just take the door off the
Right.
hinges,
Put
put on
this
our
on.
door, and then replace it.
Okay. The only thing that'd be different would be there's electronic hardware on this. I think there's a buzzer on it.
On this door,
The existing door, or is there?
it looks like it's just a bolt.
Okay.
Go backwards.
I just wondered, there's sometimes the jams, you're using the same jam and
We're
everything.
using the same jam, the
Gotcha.
same hinges.
Okay,
I do not believe this one has
Okay.
an electrical,
okay.
yeah.
And then
Unlike
the
the-
windows, I think, that essentially, you're just putting a plug over it to indicate glass where there isn't any glass, and then some bars.
That is correct.
Sure. And then those are removable.
Yep.
Same
We-
thing.
We don't even drill
Sure.
into the brick
Right.
of the building. It's all
Gotcha,
pressure fitted.
yeah. Well, I don't see any deleterious effects to the building historically,
Yeah.
and that's what we're concerned with. Anybody else on the commission have any comments thereof? And the water company seems to have worked out pretty good. You still haven't replaced the stuff, but are you going to do any more shooting over there?
Well, for instance, in the scene that we're going to do on the 14th, the water
They'll-
building might be visible.
Yeah.
So we're leaving it in
Gotcha.
place.
Okay,
I've been in contact with Mark
Great.
Neary kind of about that process and when we plan to actually restore the water building back to as is.
well, I don't know if we can make an actionable item out of it, but I would think that we could certainly recommend that work take place under the auspices of the ongoing request for assistance from the movie company as we're going through this. I mean, we don't really have an official COA, but on the other hand, it's sort of a temporary situation. We're really not changing anything permanently.
That is correct.
So, I mean, it's something like that. So I would recommend the commission vote on approval of the proposed modification, temporary modifications on this building. It's been seconded. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay,
Thank you for your time.
you're welcome. Brian? Brian. That's good. Did you draw these? No. Oh, okay.
They are gorgeous, aren't they?
I like that because I do it like that too. Okay, it looks like we're in the announcements phase. And Kate, do you have any announcements or anyone else on the commission? I hearing none. Now we can ask for any comment from the public on anything that's not on the agenda. Any general comments, questions? Here, yes, Mitzi?
I'm trying to find the piece of paper. I can't, but Kate, you included in our package the whole discussion with Lincoln Roofing about the place on 328, 330, or 326 South Washington.
Oh, the modified COA, yes.
Right, and so I guess, and I went by and saw it, and it is not extending over the end of,
On top it's not?
so what they have is they've got a piece of L metal,
Oh.
and so
okay.
you can't, I mean, in theory, maybe it is extended and they've hidden it underneath.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess that whole, it prompted me to look at what we had said when we were talking about the modified COA. And one of the things that we had said, that there would be a clause always in the COAs, and this was something that you agreed to, that said, if you don't do it right, you're not going to get paid. And I noticed that it didn't say anything like that in this particular one. And I think that is really something like this, that I guess there's a question in my mind, did he put that metal on there to cover some mistake, or I don't know what the whole situation. So if you could just address a little bit about what happened at that building and what might happen in the future to the roof.
Yeah, that's the old roof. So I don't think that's the old roof. So nothing's been done yet. And I spoke with Mr. Lincoln, and he says that he's very familiar with what the HPC likes to do with roofing, and he's dealt with with us before and was well aware. He said that he didn't know when he was approached with the project that this was going to go through the URA, and he actually would have proposed a different roofing material altogether that he's used on another building that he knows that you've approved. And I said, well, that they're fine with the TPO, you just cannot have it go over the parapet.
Well, okay, let me, you have to, on a TPO detail, if you have a parapet wall, it should go up the wall and cut either that or an
Right.
attached, what they call a termination bar.
Yes.
But having a coping cap that's covered with metal certainly fits within the historic district. It could be stone, but a metal cap is fairly standard detailing. I've done it on the Charlie's New Deal Bar, several of the other projects around town. But usually you don't see the roofing. You see a metal coping cap that could be, matching up in color in any other trim. Isn't that correct?
I've never actually seen that on there, and I guess I didn't. What I didn't know is where they were in their process. And
They
if so long as the cap is fine, so long as they're not hiding any sins behind it. And he was going to actually, I think he was just going to put a TPO on top of the existing TPO, which
Yeah.
seemed right. So I mean, I just want some clarification since
Yeah.
you had seemed to bring it to our attention, and so.
I told him that the termination bar had to be on the other side of the parapet or on top of the parapet. It just couldn't stretch over the parapet. When I saw that picture, I thought it already had a roof stretched over the parapet. So, was just.
You
Yeah.
have a 2x6 or a 2x8 on top of this wall, and then they bring the TPO over and fasten it. Then on top of that, you put a metal coping cap to cover that. That's one way. The other way is a termination bar that doesn't go up. It goes up the parapet a certain distance, and then it's screwed, the
Yeah.
TPO is screwed to the face of whatever that material is. Typically, brick doesn't make it. They have to put a piece of plywood up. There's all sorts of details that go into it that also go along with a guarantee for that roofing product. So those details are all part of that system. So, I mean, in a historic building, you have to be sensitive and have the right coloration and where you're going to see it and not see it. I don't even I don't recall this case, period. I don't know where it is or what.
It was in your packet that I emailed on Friday.
Okay. Anything else on our dais this evening? Hearing none, we are adjourned.